Okay. Should we stop?
No, because if you stop, it's going to do the same thing again.
Okay.
We're going to do the same exact oh. Okay. Hi, and welcome to Like Jasper. As you can see, we're in the studio together. It's not a studio.
Sarah's dining room.
In Sarah's dining room together. We felt like that we wanted to try this, and so far it's been going terribly because we haven't been able to.
We had the
laugh.
case of giggles.
Oh my goodness. And it's not even funny.
Nothing's been funny.
Pretty much the theme of our relationship. Yeah. But I got to come up here to see Sarah on a planned vacation, and then a hurricane came through Florida, and we came a day early. So now we're here, and it's sunny and bright, but we're definitely praying for everybody that was in the path of Helene, I guess is how it looks how it's spelled. I haven't heard anybody say it out loud, actually. So that's why we're together.
Yeah. But it was also planned.
Yeah.
It was just like a really cool God timing, actually, that you guys got to come up here for that.
Yeah, and the lady that we were, like the Airbnb, everything was just a God thing because it was gracious. She was gracious to let us check in early because we wanted to leave before the people evacuating, not planned, were actually leaving. Right. So yeah, that's why
the traffic. Yeah. But today we are going to be talking about faithful in little and faithful in much. And so we're really excited about that.
Yeah. We were also really confused.
It's so true.
It's really hard.
So this is one that I've quoted so many times. I'm like, yeah, especially to my kids. Like, okay, like if they want something, big or little, really even or little. I'm like, well, your rooms haven't been clean. You haven't been showing that you're being faithful in a little. Mm-hmm. How can you be faithful in a lot? So like, you gotta be able to earn this kind of thing. That's how I've always used it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my brain went when I was like, ooh, Brittany, we should do a podcast.
Oh, faithful in a little. And I was like, yeah. And then I read it and I was like, wow, maybe Sarah just really gets this and I don't, because I was like, hey, I don't understand what's happening here. Can you help me? Because I don't understand. She's like, wait, what?
Right, like what actually, maybe. So do we want to read, can you read the parable?
Yeah.
Okay. Here. Do you want to read it on mine or do you want to read it on yours?
I want to read it on mine because I pulled it up.
For some reason, it is Luke 16.
Okay.
For some reason, I actually had my Bible flipped to Jonah. No idea why.
Maybe, yeah. Just okay. It starts in verse 1 of 16, and so we're going to start there. Hopefully, prayerfully, I will get through it without laughing at nothing. And this is going to be Jesus speaking. It says, he also said to the disciples, there was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was wasting his possessions. And he called him and said to him, what is this that I hear about you? Turn in the account of your management, for you can no longer be manager. And the manager said to himself, what shall I do, since my master is taking the management away from me?
It's not too late to start this over.
Taking the management away from me. I am not strong enough to dig, and I am ashamed to beg. I have decided what to do, so that when I am removed from management, people may receive me into their houses. So, summoning his master's debtors one by one, he said to the first, how much do you owe my master? He said, 100 measures of oil. He said to him, take your bill and sit down quickly and write 50. And then he said to another, and how much do you owe? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, take your bill and write 80. The master commended the dishonest manager for his shrewdness. For the sons of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than the sons of light. And I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of unrighteous wealth, so that when it fails, they may receive you into the eternal dwellings. One who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much, and one who is dishonest in a very little is also dishonest in much. If then you have not been faithful in the unrighteous wealth, who will entrust you to who will entrust to you the true riches? And if you have not been faithful in that which is another's, who will give to you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. It's a lot to digest.
It is a lot to digest, yeah.
And it was like, as I read it, I kept thinking, oh, I've got it. And then I'd read the next verse.
Right. And you're like,
definitely don't got it.
And you and I talked back and forth on that too. Like, oh yeah, no, it means this. And you're like, oh, but da-da-da. And I'm like, oh yeah, actually no. Or like vice versa.
Yes,
like we kind of went back and forth on it a little bit like, oh, we totally get it. And then like, oh, but wait, what? But if that's the case, then why this, like, it was just.
It was hard. It is hard. Even when I'm thinking about how I'm going to go through what I feel like the Lord's revealed, I'm concerned that my brain is going to be like, do you really understand this? Yeah. And it's funny because I reached out to like godly counsel about it. And then my husband, who's also godly counsel. But the funny thing is he was like, this isn't hard. And I was like, it's so hard. What are you talking about? I don't understand. And he was just like, gave what took us like, I don't know how long to come to,
like an hour at
least. At least that was just you and me, not our own study. Just because it's like, it's confusing. Well, first of all, like you said, we have pulled the one who is faithful in a very little is faithful in much. That's like
that famous,
right,
like popular,
and we've made it quotable, and it is quotable, and it is true, and even like we both agree that like. That is what you're telling your children, what you've used that for your children is applicable. If you aren't responsible for what you have, like that's just good parenting. But that's not really what this parable is about, honestly. I mean, but the principle stands, so it's okay.
Yeah, it is and it's not. Yeah. Like it is and yeah, we're gonna kind of get there. So at first, it's kind of funny as I was looking at my notes back. I was like, you can see I even put like a little question mark on my notes. Like, wait, is this what it means? So we were really struggling with it, but I am so thankful because the Lord really did open it up for us to grasp and understand.
And I think I'm thankful for that. And I like and I feel like this will be one of those that we circle back to in our walk and are like, oh, remember when we understood this? Now we understand this part of it. Uh-huh. And I feel like for anybody who's listening, I want to encourage you with that too, because there's been so many scriptures that you pour yourself into and spend time with the Lord so he can reveal to you. And it means that thing at that moment. And I'm not saying it would change completely. I just mean that he reveals a little bit more, a little bit for that moment, because the word, of course, is alive and active. But I looked up shrewdness.
Good. Because that word threw me off when I first read it. I was like, because to me, shrewd sounds negative.
Yeah, it does.
It sounds like I don't want to be shrewd,
Yeah.
But it's actually not.
I thought that shrewd was like, what did I think it was? First of all, every time I hear the word shrewd, I think of Dwight Schrute. And I struggle. But shrewd, I thought was like when you're being like stingy and picky and like you're being like, I don't know. I don't even know what
the opposite of generous.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's not what it means.
No.
Just for fun.
Well, stingy. That's what stingy is, right?
Yeah.
I could see that, like almost like a stingy and rude combination, like shrewd.
Shrewd. That's what I did. That's what my buddy did. Thanks for solving that. But like, why did I think it meant that?
I think you know what it is. It's because we grew up every year, every family gathering, not just a year, but multiple times a year playing Boulder Dash. So that has not done our family a good service when it comes to trying to figure out words. You're like, yeah, that sounds like a great definition. We're go with it.
Ever wondered why people pay for therapists when we just discovered what half of our problems are in life? Just right here in this moment, we both go, Boulder Dash! Of all of our brain problems, because that is so true. Okay, for those of you who don't know what Boulder Dash is, first of all,
we never played their official real board game.
Because why would you?
We played it with just a dictionary and some ripped up pieces of paper.
I know. And then I realized it was a board game. I was like in my 20s.
Me too. Before we knew that it was the way we played it is way better though. I think I've never played the board game, but I would imagine our way. Anyways, you explain.
No, I mean it's just a game that I thought for a long time we invented, but we didn't. And you have somebody. It's fun to have. With, like,
so fun.
Yeah,
we need to play it while y'all are here.
I know Jet loves that game.
So does
it's super fun. Okay, yeah, we should do that. Okay. Okay, inside of what it's like to be right beside us. But it's you just get one person is the dictionary, like the person who's going to be reading or picking a word from the dictionary, and they don't write down what you're trying to strike in. You pick a word that nobody knows, and then everybody has a piece of paper, and they write down, like we might tell you it's a noun or it's this part of speech or whatever it is. They don't always do that because that's also funny, but most of the time they would. And then you get your piece of paper and you have time to invent this definition of what you think the word means. And then you fold it up and you pass it to the dictionary person who has also written down on a piece of paper the actual answer so that he's not reading it from, I say he because it was always our Uncle John. Yeah. And he would belly laugh. He would ruin half of them though, right? But it sounded legit. So then anyway, everybody would pass it into Uncle John most of the time and he would read all 10 or 20 or however many of us were there definitions. And then everybody goes around the table and gets a chance to vote. I think the real answer is this. And you get points if somebody votes for yours or if you actually pick the right one that's in the pack. Yeah. And so we would just sit there and we have like
with cool definitions of what we think.
And like some of them would be so hilarious because they were like, you had like a typo in what you were writing and it didn't make any sense, or Uncle John would read it painfully wrong and he'd be like, no, that's not what I was saying. And then everybody would laugh, but you couldn't say anything because it would give away that it was yours. So we would just all die laughing. And our family's brilliant. And so they would write.
So brilliant. We're all just so brilliant. I'm from a brilliant line.
It's true. When we're together,
not vain at all.
Yeah, when we do come, it's true. I don't care what she says. Don't think like see this.
We have one brilliant person in our family named Duncan, and he would ruin the game because he knew the definition of every single word.
He like knew the Latin, the Greek, the Hebrew root of it, and he was like, "Oh, well, that's a washing machine from whatever." And you're like, no, not cool, dude, not cool. Or anything you wrote, it was just dumb to him because he's like the IQ of whatever is a high IQ. I don't know because I don't have one.
But we're brilliant.
Brilliant. We really are brilliant because
we're so spiraling. I want it back.
Point is, that's what I thought shrewd was because of this game, because I just put words together. And I think that's what my brain does like as a default now, and that's the problem. So let's get to the real definition.
So what does shrewd really mean?
Shrewd really means prudently, wisely, and then it says careful and sensible approach, using good judgment, they consider the consequences of their actions. Ability to act intelligently and wisely. So then that even confuzzled me more because I'm like, why would he praise him for being shrewd? But the shrewdness seemed deceptive.
It did. It seemed that's what was confusing me so bad was that the manager seemed to be almost sneaky with how he did it.
I think that he was, but I think that the consequence of it was what was praised.
Right.
Not the action.
Which itself. Like throws my brain off.
I'm like, wait, why? And
like,
then
Jesus,
he's
being sneaky. Yeah. How is he being shrewd? Or shrewd is a good thing. And like it's being wise and it's being prudent and what was the other words?
Intelligent and using good judgment, thinking consequences.
Right. Yeah, so that really, I struggled with that.
Yeah, and I struggled with it more because I was like, well, maybe it was this. Because
no, I struggled with it more.
No, I mean, like later, at another time, I struggled with it again. I struggled with it again.
It's a competition. I struggled with it more.
Brilliant. Our family is brilliant. Anyways, but because Jesus goes on to say, and I tell you, make friends for yourself by means of unrighteous wealth. And I was like, what? What are you saying?
Right. So then my brain was like, well, God doesn't tell us to be sneaky.
No.
So I struggled with it.
Yeah. So maybe you guys have always understood it and now you're struggling with it too. You're welcome. Thanks for coming to the podcast. But we came to a resolve because I also, because in your version, does it say dishonest, unrighteous? What does it say?
Let's see. Instead of what? What am I? What's the word?
When he says the dishonest manager is what mine says. What does yours say?
The squandering his possessions. I don't know.
Hold on. And he summoned his master's debtors, and he said, I'm trying to find where the word is.
Yeah, I don't remember where it says that. Is that at the beginning?
Unrighteous, right there.
Oh,
yours says unrighteous. Mine says dishonest.
Right. So that the dishonest, the unrighteous, like that threw me off because then he's praised for being true.
Well, I think it's because what we realized we were doing is that we thought he was praising his unrighteousness,
right,
and his dishonesty. And it wasn't so much that, my understanding is it wasn't so much that as it was what he did with the authority and the resources that he had and how that sort of then reflected on the master and his interaction.
He made the master look really great.
Yeah.
By doing that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily the right way to go about it.
Yeah, I think.
But maybe his heart and what he was, his intentions of what he was trying to get accomplished was correct, maybe? I don't know.
I don't think so, because he was just trying not to be on the street.
Yeah, he was. He was like trying to get money himself, like he was gaining.
And I think that's the point of, a little bit the point of this is because, like you said, when we were studying it, you're like, I focused a lot on the manager, not the master.
But really, what we should be doing is focusing on the master.
Right. And how he is responding. And I think, too, that...
which the master represents God.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, too.
But I also think the audience of who is around Jesus at this moment is important. It's the Pharisees.
Yes.
And the Pharisees love money. And he doesn't say, like some of the translations say wealth, but the actual word, and I'm sure we've heard it, it's a very biblical, like churchy word, is mammon. But when I really researched what mammon meant, it was treasure, but it was also the personification of God. Like and it really is now today too. That's why he says the love of money. And so when it says you cannot serve God and mammon, it's because these people of the world, that wealth is their God. That was their God. And so I think that what he was doing was obviously unrighteous. He had been squandering the money, but this was the first time that his actions were in the direction of benefiting the master. It wasn't that they weren't deceitful, because they were, and they were self-serving. It was that they benefited the master, and then the people saw the master for the first time, like what we had read when we, he forgave. What I feel like too there, that it's a big deal, is that debts were forgiven that they still owed. And that was only under the authority of the master that he'd given to the manager. And he's like settling up the accounts, and this is what he does with it. And that, I really think that we could probably spiritualize a lot of this, but I feel like what the Lord really put on my heart is it really is about your love of money and what you do with the resources that God gives you. Not just money, but I do think that is a huge part of this, because of the parable of the minas that's in it's in Luke 19, because I looked up the phrase faithful in a little, and the next place you find it is in Luke 19:17, which I can go this.
I could just flip.
You want to read that?
Sure.
Read though.
17.
It starts right here, 12. So Luke 19:12
through 17, or through what?
17 is where it says the thing. You'll know. I think it'll be this. You're going to keep going because this is the minas one. You'll go to 27.
Okay. So he said, a nobleman went to a distant country to receive a kingdom for himself and then return. And he called 10 of his slaves and gave them 10 manas. Did I say that right? Minas. Boulder Dash.
Brilliant. Our family is brilliant.
And gave them 10 minas and said to them, do business with this until I come back. But his citizens hated him and sent him a delegation after him, saying, "We do not want this man to reign over us." When he returned after receiving the kingdom, he ordered that these slaves, to whom he had given the money, be called to him so that he might know what business they had done. The first appeared, saying, "Master, your mina, your mina has 10 minas more." And he said to him, "Well done, good slave. Because you have been faithful in a very little thing, you are to be an authority over 10 cities." The second came, saying, "Your mina, master, has 5 more minas." And he said to him also, "And you are to be over 5 cities." Another came, saying, "Master, here is your mina, which I kept and put away in a handkerchief. For I was afraid of you, because you are an exacting man, and take up what you did not lay down, and reap what you did not sow." And he said to him, "By your own words I will judge you, you worthless slave. Did you know that I am an exacting man, taking up what I did not lay down, and reaping what I did not sow? Then why did you put my money in the bank, and having why did I read that correctly?
No, yeah.
Yeah, and why did you not put my money in a bank? And having come, I would have collected it with interest." Then he said to the bystanders, "Take the mina away from him and give it to the one who has the 10 minas." And they said to him, "Master, he has 10 minas already. I tell you that to everyone who has more shall be given, but from the one who does not have, even what he does have shall be taken away. But these enemies of mine who did not want me to reign over them, bring them to here and slay them in my presence."
So that one, to me, it has the same phrase about being faithful in a little. And I think this parable speaks a lot more to how you would talk to your children. Like, it really is about that a lot. But this is a picture. I feel this one was not hard for me to understand.
Right. This one's straightforward.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah. But even in that one, you've got that the master is God, but he's being called something negative, really. Like, you're this man who he reaps where he didn't sow and all that. And he's like, "Well, you knew that about me, so you'll be judged by your own words." And so that used to throw me off, because it's like, that's not the character of God. But in this sense, these people were given stewards of money, but in the same way that the other parable is not just about money, it's about everything we have is the Lord's. So how are you stewarding that for the kingdom?
And like bringing others to Christ through what you have.
And I think that wealth is one of those things that will quickly become the personification of God. When you see that wealth is your God, that you're holding on to it more than the Lord, like you're looking at the gift more than the giver. That's what God is having a problem with in both scenarios. But in this last one you just read in Luke 19, I feel like that's also about your ministry, your gifts, because there's not a option he doesn't say anything about it not working out. Right. This man doesn't do what he's supposed to do out of fear. Yeah. And the other man did what he should have done all along by, like, being a good manager, forgiving debts, being leeway in this, because he was afraid too. Yeah. So it's like,
this parable used to like kind of irk me. It's like, well, he didn't take any away. Yeah. Like he hid it. He took care of it. Like, he didn't risk it. That's you know what I mean?
And that's what God wants, because risking it is the idea of self. I don't want to mess up. Right. I don't want to lose this. And there's not even a choice in there that it could be messed up. Right. Like, the point is, you were given that to give. To he who is given, even more will be given, because he's wanting to multiply the kingdom. Yeah. And he doesn't want you to sit on it. Don't put it under a bushel, and that is hard. And this parable, to me, is very countercultural, even within the Christian culture, I should say. I feel like the idea that you didn't do and then it's taken away is not something that we talk about.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that's because he's wanting you to be faithful in what he's given you. Right. And you go back to the parable that we did in 16, and he says basically the same thing. He says, then this is why I think that it is about money, but not just money, is because he's saying, he calls the people of this world are more shrewd. They deal more wisely with the money and the riches and the things that they have, versus the Christian people who were literally did not want to come off that so much that they killed him. They murdered. They had Jesus murdered because they didn't want to lose their power, their station, their wealth, their cushy lives. And he compares and says that if with this wealth you don't do well, who would give you true riches, which is spiritual?
Right.
And so I feel like that's the same thing you see in 19, where he did not use what was given to him for the kingdom. And so it was removed as well, because you didn't even, you know what I mean? You didn't even follow through with what I gave you. That's right here in your hands, versus something spiritual that's going to be, And there's so much on the chapter 19 too, because they don't want that master to rule over them.
Right.
And that it really is the same in the parable that we're talking about, being faithful in a little, that one with the manager. Anyways, you have what? No, I was just going to say that when I was writing it down, I had to write the verse that I felt like I understood, and then I had to write down what I felt like God was showing me, because it would literally be like, oh, I don't get that. I don't understand that.
Well, what kept happening to me, and I don't know if this kept happening to you too, I don't know, but I would read a verse and I would get it.
Yep.
And 5 minutes later I would circle back around, and then I was like, no, wait, actually, no, I don't get it.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, that's where I manager praises him for his wisdom.
Yeah.
Manager is praised for his wisdom. Make friends for yourselves with unrighteousness. And then I'm like, so when it fails, they will receive you into your earthly dwellings. And you can see, I'm like, even now I'm still like, wait. And it is because and that directly right there, I do see that there's kind of a shift. You've got the story of the man, right? The manager. And then Jesus is addressing the crowd in which the Pharisees are. So the parable kind of ends, and then he applies it to the audience that's there when he's like, I tell you, it kind of shifts.
So this, it says that he's a dishonest or he's an unrighteous man. So do you think the manager represents people of the world, or is it Christians? Because as Christians, we're supposed to steward what the Lord has given us.
I think the manager represents people of this world because he did better than the children of light in this. He's saying in front of the Pharisees.
And that's why he's dishonest. Is that why he's dishonest?
He was dishonest. He was dishonest because he wasn't managing the estate correctly. He wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. So it was going to be removed from him. And so when he says he praises the dishonest or unrighteous manager, he's not praising the unrighteousness. That's just the character of the man innately. He was just a dishonest one. Right. And yet God is saying he was better. The children of, I forget what he calls them, the children of this world, maybe, I think. Hold on. For the sons of this world, and then, which also sometimes is translated age. For the sons of this world are more shrewd, so intelligent, in dealing with their own generation than the sons of light. So in other words, the worldly people deal with their wealth and their own generation more wisely than the religious leaders who are sitting there on money, sitting there on all this wealth, and they're not doing anything for the kingdom. So he's praising the world, just like when he says, I tell you, it'd be better for Sodom and Gomorrah. And he's
not necessarily praising them. He's just saying they're doing it better than you. And as children of light, you're supposed to be doing it way, right?
Yeah. No, I think that in the parable,
you think it is praise?
No, I don't think it's praise. We need to be dishonest and not do that. I mean that the master praises the manager, and then Jesus takes that and says, I'm telling you, make friends by means of unrighteous wealth. In other words, take what you have and go to the world and connect with them, so that then it says, so that when it fails, because wealth fails, all of that fails, they may receive you into the eternal dwellings. So in other words, be eternally minded with what you have in your hands that's been given to you. And in this case, it's money. And in the case of the Minas, it's also money. But I I think that that's literally money because the
Right.
age we still worship it.
Yeah.
And it's,
There's greed and power
Mhm.
and security.
security and that's that. I think that one might be the worst is we put our security
in
in the
instead
money
of the
when it's
security in Christ.
yes.
Yeah.
And so when you realize that, because when I looked up the mammon,
Mhm.
it's a Syrian, Chaldean, like all the worst culture people word,
Mhm.
and it says attributed of personal nature or human characteristics to someone not human. Money embodies the quality of God. And it says the God of riches. So that word would have been very well known.
Yeah.
Like it held its own meaning, just the
Right.
word by itself. So when he says you cannot serve God and mammon, that would have hit home.
It was like very understood.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like it was. And
I think so too.
And I think he's saying, I think the reason I think Jesus is also praising him is because he's disgusted with the Pharisees.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely, and then you go on to see in the next parable, he's also disgusted. The manager, or not the manager, the master of that one slaughters everyone who
Yeah.
does not want him to be his master. And I mean,
Yeah.
so it just is, it's one of those things that's like, where is your focus? Where is your heart? And if you are not faithful in the gift of the gift giver, how would you be faithful in anything more than that?
Yeah.
You're not willing to give the thing that has really, it's just a means to an end versus the source.
Right. What's also interesting is like sometimes we think that like, oh, well, if they're trusting me with this little bit, then this is how much they trust me with. Whereas God is saying like, this is how much, like, it's, in other words, your faithfulness is not judged by the amount that you have, but by the character and what you do with it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So like sometimes
100%.
Right. So it's like, well, I give you $100. Well, it's not that I'm saying that I only trust you $100. It's I trust you to do with this $100 as seen fit, and I trust your character to do with what's best for it.
Yes.
Right. But sometimes our innate minds think, oh, well, this is how much I am trusted. And so I need to be very diligent and careful with this, as opposed to
the value. And we also
we
put just like we did when we were reading this, we put so much emphasis on the manager.
Yeah.
When it was really about the master and how his dealings reflect. I mean, it was about both.
Well,
I'm not
the master too was like very, like he wasn't angry with how he had been dealing. Like he was being the manager was being let go, but the manager also was like forgiving, and he was like, okay, you were faithful with this amount, and more came through, right? So to me, the master was like gracious and forgiving, and
the master of in the first parable of the one we're talking about, 16.
Yeah, don't you think that he dealt like?
No,
you don't think he was
because
gracious?
he's like, I found out that you were being unfaithful.
Yeah, but in the end, I'm talking about the end.
Oh yes, in the end, the manager's actions gained him favor.
Right, and so the master was pleased with how. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm sorry,
but
yes,
he could have been like, oh, like you were unrighteous with it, or you were whatever, and like, okay, yeah, you gave me some good stuff at the end, but like whatever.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't like that. He was forgiving of it, like, and he praised him for it.
I think,
right?
yeah, I think he praised him, but I think the point of the praise was to drive home what Jesus was wanting the crowd to hear.
Yes, yeah,
and
definitely.
I think too that
because it also made the master look gracious. Right, like
no, it did. It then all of a sudden, because they don't know that the account has been removed.
Right.
So he's walking there with the authority as the manager of this estate from the master.
Right.
And it's coming down saying, hey, how much do you owe? Write that off.
Right.
Because if they had thought he was just doing something, I don't think that wouldn't have worked out for them.
Right.
Because they would have been
it made the master appear to be like the one to say, oh, I'm gonna forgive you of this debt. I'm gonna forget, like he made the master look gracious.
Yes.
And made really took that master's reputation and bumped it up.
Yes, I agree. And I think that is he was given an account to manage. And as a Christian, we are also given an account to manage in the gospel, in our finances, in our time, in our sacrifices, and the things we pay attention to, whatever. But certainly money is the thing that trips almost everybody up.
Yeah.
Because I think about when you were talking, about, oh, I've just given you 100. It's not about that value. I think about the woman who gave 3 or whatever it is, and she gave everything. That's all she had.
Her offering,
Yeah, her offering was very little, but it was
versus
everything.
the other guy who came
and he had given from his abundance, not. And so then that puts what you said. What was the word? The stability. No, what word did you call that? Where you're trusting in money. What did you say?
Oh, security.
So she took this 3 pennies or whatever they were, I don't remember the exact thing, and gave it all because she was giving it to the person who multiplies, who gave it to her to begin with. She gave everything.
She understood.
Yes. And that's
that
what
her security did not lie there.
Yes. And so I think for the money aspect of this too, when you know that, it's about what are you doing with what God's giving you when you have nothing, though, too. Like if you only have $100, what are you doing with $100? Yeah. Are you using that $100 for what God wants you to? Whatever that looks like. I'm not saying that you have to go put
I think this also ties in. I think this could go with tithing as well. Right? Yeah, like you give a little bit of tithing and the Lord comes back tenfold with blessings.
Oh, every time. And I tie, and that's like a whole topic. I feel like people get kind of, and I get it. I get why people get weird about it. There's a lot of corruption, as we have multiple parables about money and things like that. There's a lot of corruption, but I think the point is, I'm not giving because of how good or what faithful the person or wherever I'm giving to. I'm giving because God is good and faithful.
Being obedient.
And when I give it, I say, God, you take this and do whatever you want, because I can't be everywhere all the time. But if I can give what you've given me back and then some, and every time he definitely multiplies it. God has shown himself so powerfully through the idea of money. And I think it is, again, because of how we hold on to it.
Yeah, we do.
I had written down, I feel like I had written down something that I wanted to say out loud, but I don't know.
Well, I was going to, while you're looking at that, this is kind of slightly switching gears, but I thought it was interesting. And so I wanted to bring it, like I just kind of mention it. So in here, it was talking about like the numbers of stuff. Oh, yeah. So the one, like, wasn't that fascinating? Yeah, I thought that was really fascinating. So it was the 100 baths. What was it? I'm trying to find it in here. Where's the
grain
verse?
And oil?
It was grain and oil, but I'm trying to find because I don't know if I wrote down the actual thing, but it was 100 baths, 800, which is 100 baths is 850 gallons, which is approximately 450 olive trees.
So what did it say? This says 100 measures is about 875 gallons or 3,200
liters, or this said of oil. 850 gallons. Yes, which is approximately 450 olive trees and worth approximately 1,000 denarii. I thought that was really fascinating. And then the other part that
the measures of wheat.
Yes, the measures of wheat. It was 100 cores, which is approximately 1,000 bushels.
Yep.
Approximately 100 acres worth, which comes to about 2,500 denarii. Which
so
is
it was a very
large amount.
And that too, that is why the favor, we're just reading it as like, oh, it was 150. Oh,
right. We're like, what does that even mean? Like, what's the equivalent? Well, I mean, think about a farmer who grows olive trees. It was worth about 450 olive trees. That's a lot.
And the other one, forgiven.
Yes, and it was forgiven. And then the other one was about 100 acres worth of crops. Like, even this day and age, that's a massive amount. And let alone back then, I feel like it might have been even more so, because that was their livelihood.
That was it.
They didn't have anything really to fall back on.
Right. Not like they work from home and just whatever.
Right.
That's it.
They couldn't make TikTok videos for a living.
And we really missed out. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
Been famous.
We could have been not only famous, but rich, man.
I know, right?
Brian was driving the other day and he was like, he saw a car that said like, follow me on such TikTok. But it was like this, I forget what kind of car he said. I'm not a car person, but he said it was a car that was worth around $500,000. And like, it had all this special paint job on it and all that. And he was like, it was some TikTok influencer out there, and here we are just scraping to get by. Anyways, the point is, it was a massive amount. And I thought that was really fascinating because I like to put things into like my terminology,
I think
like
that,
my language. I'm like, that's really fascinating.
yeah,
that's a lot of trees and a lot of acres.
The forgiveness was a very equivalent, right?
Right.
Yeah, which is also something that's kind of lost on you. I think when we read Numbers and Minas and things like that, from that time, it is lost on us. But it's so it is important to know that. I feel like that gives a perspective.
It does. It gives that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Did you find what you were going to say?
Nope.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah, I think that God is just so much more. He's not concerned so much with the things that we're concerned with in like the day to day, except that our day to day be on Him.
Yeah.
Whether you live in a shack, or, and that's something absolutely. I told my kids
and
too.
To build a rapport with the world, for the kingdom too, right?
Yes.
To build a good reputation. Yes. Like, I feel like Christians nowadays, so many, obviously not all, but a lot of Christians put a bad name on God by their actions and the way they're living. Yeah. And so also, like, you want to represent the Lord well and make the master look good too. Like, that he's worthy of it. And he's great. Like, I want everyone to see that and not tear down his reputation.
I agree. I think that the way we live has reflected.
We reflect,
and I think that's also why he's commended, because his actions allowed the people to see him in a different light, and that was important. I think for him. Obviously, he commended him for whatever reason. He commended him. Even, and it doesn't say that he was now not an unrighteous person or whatever. And that's a point too. Like, who we are. Is all based on Jesus and what he did and what he's done for us. And so then our money, everything should be reflective. Yeah. And when they aren't, that's where he's talking about. And in this case, for the Pharisees, it definitely wasn't. But the Pharisees are an extreme in this situation, but it's really not extreme. It's really just the day to day. I mean, there's so many days and times, that he talks so much about what we need right here. He feeds the 5,000. He does all of these things for your actual physical need. How much more will my Father clothe you? All that, right? Like, he gets that we have this need. And I think he's serious about us as believers meeting that need for the world. Yeah. Because it garners a seat at the table. Yep. Like, hey, that person helped me. They didn't just walk by me while I was starving and say, I'll pray for you. Right. Yeah. What is that? Right. Like, because he's given you, and you hold on to it. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Because you're kind of like stingy, like, oh, that, like, what if, exactly. The more you give, the more you receive. And that's what he says, like, to him who's holding on to it, even that's going to be taken. Because if you have $20 and there's somebody sitting there and they need something and you don't give it because it's your last $20, then you have essentially said that $20 was going to meet everything that I needed. And I've done that before multiple times, where I've been like panicky about it, and not done something. And then inevitably that $20 is like a vapor in whatever the amount is. I'm just saying $20. Right. It's like gone anyways. Yeah. And honestly, something else comes up that I'm actually in lack, but every time I have given from my lack, like, I don't have this. I actually don't
trusting the Lord and obedience.
And wisdom.
Yeah, with generous. Wisdom. Yeah,
all the things we've been blessed. I cannot tell you how many times that I have opened the mailbox in a really hard time. I can think of 3 right now on hand, and there was a check in the mail, and it was either the exact amount that I needed or it was more than that, and I'm like. It would be like, you overpaid this in 1995 when I didn't even have a job or whatever. And I'm like, where did this come from? And that it comes from the Lord. And we had literally given and we didn't have, and God. And the thing that's incredible about that is it was in the mailbox, which means that it had already been, that blessing was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so I think that
Right. He knew before you
Yeah.
were, yeah.
he
Mhm.
knew before what I
That's
would
so
need.
neat. Yeah.
And he was wanting to bless me. And I think,
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, I'm going off a little bit on the spiritual here, but I just feel like the point of this is that this is not our earthly home. And if we've got the world acting and treating others better than those who are in the light, we have a problem. And I think the point is that he wants us to steward the gifts that we have, whatever they may be, for the kingdom so that others can know the master.
And, like we're talking about how, like, that was worth so much, like the amounts of trees and
Yeah.
acres and all the things. And we're talking about like worldly value. How much more value is the eternal side?
Yes, and that's what he says. Like,
Yeah.
if you can't even, right here, I got, if then you have not been faithful, I think that's the word too that always gets me, but faithful in the unrighteous wealth, who will entrust you to the true riches?
To the true riches. Yep. Yep. I think that's good. And so Randy mentioned that sheep is.
Yeah.
Did you want to mention that?
Yeah, I thought that was really good too.
Thought that was great.
That was my godly counsel. I always message my Sunday school teacher and his wife, like, probably more than I should, but it's okay. And I said, yeah, we're pretending that they love it anyways. I just live in that world and that's fine. But I said, hey, I don't understand this. Can you, any help, that will come from it? And he wrote back, like, short version is Matthew 10:16 and Matthew 10:16. And then he gave me a long version because I continued to text.
She was like, yeah, that was great. Loved it. But now I need the long version.
And by that time, the Lord had already kind of helped us come around to it. But, and even the answer that he had was even more needy too, because he's just in his word. But anyways, Matthew 10:16 says, behold, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. And it goes on to different things about what the world will do to you. And so I think that little cute doggy. Anyways, I think that kind of puts a little bit of a clearer, maybe umbrella of like, you're in the world, but you're not of the world. So be as wise as a serpent, but as innocent as a dove. And that translates to so many things.
Yeah. While still being generous in everything with the riches.
Generosity is something that is very big to the Lord because he gave you in such generosity.
Well, worldly wealth should be used to gain eternal value.
Yeah, that's it right there. That is the point right there.
That's the point. Yeah.
That's it. We shouldn't say anything else because that is exactly what it is.
Right. That's what we want. Like, that's the whole point. Yeah.
Is the earthly is only to serve for the eternal. That's all it is. Because it's all but a vapor anyways. And that's hard because we're also dust. And so we
we also have our flesh that rises up and we have to fight that.
Yeah, gotta crucify that. Because I don't want to be I don't want to be like the manager who's scrambling once I realize I messed it up. I don't want to be doing that.
Yeah.
I want to be doing the whole time. I want to be the 10 meanest guy.
Yeah.
Like, yes. Right. 10. I got 10. I doubled it or whatever it is. I don't, and not for me, for for the Lord. Yeah. And and you and whoever is listening that doesn't know what comes from that.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Should we pray out?
You want
to pray? I should pray.
Yeah.
Okay. Lord, we just thank you so much for this time that we were able to come together. I just pray that we will be faithful in little, and I just pray that we will be always on alert and how we can steward the things that you have blessed us with, that we will steward it well, and that we will use it to better and further your kingdom, and that we will glorify you with every action. Every time we purchase something, that it will be an honoring to you purchase. I pray, Lord, that as we go forth, that we will use our wealth and our resources and our time and our energy to just build your kingdom up and bring people to you, Lord. I pray that you will give us the words that we need to say as we go forth throughout this week. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
You made it.
Make sure it's off. We should do